Hey, Jordan, I see the bat. There's a little thing you made like in children's church and when he was like 5 or 6 or something, and it's a little blue handprint, And I thought like some finger painting I thought bringing it to add to the collection.
That would've been sweet.
And we all start crying.
Yes.
Do you have a lot of like those types of things?
Not a lot. Van cleans out the house a lot.
Ask my mom if she has some of that kind of stuff.
Do you have some of that kind of stuff, Diane?
I have all of that stuff.
All of it?
Oh, all of
Wow.
Everything.
Every Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Kids' Christmas decorations
All
come out,
right.
but like
Yes.
by hand or somebody's
Yes.
hand
Yep.
turkey from like
Yes.
Yes.
when they were 4 years old. And
Yes.
Mom gets it. She's gotten it framed.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
How
It's a
often
big-
do you cry about it?
I don't cry
You
about
don't
it
cry
anymore. No.
anymore.
Anymore. We are transitioning now because my mom's going to move in with us.
Whoa.
So.
Oh, really?
She's
Oh.
woke.
I was thinking it, but I can't make the joke. Feels inappropriate.
So, we're going through a lot of things, and I found our youngest's umbilical cord. I found all of the
Oh, no.
Okay,
I found
Diane,
all
we
the
were
teeth,
recording?
Yes.
all the teeth. I found a wart that had been removed from all
Is
the
that real?
Whoa.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Whoa. No.
Oh, it's petrified now. It's okay. I always intended on making a rattle.
So
with
I've got to be honest. That's witchcraft. Yo, this is news. Like, just so you know.
I was not
New
expecting.
news.
I was not expecting this to go here so quickly.
That's an honor code violation.
It's like a voodoo thing or something.
I always feel weird saying witchcraft. You can't do because nobody does it. It's my mom.
Your mom's sitting there making rattles out of warts. I mean, there is
No, that was the
something.
teeth. The wart. Do you want to see them? I've got them in my purse.
I carry them around.
Well, yeah, it reminds me of my children.
It is the most demented thing already. It is getting weird. I can't
Already
handle
our
it.
best podcast.
We hadn't started yet.
Say, are we done?
We've already,
We done here?
we've already got 2 clips and
I'm starting to sweat.
hot flashes. Hot flashes.
We're not taping this yet, are we?
Oh, we're taping everything.
Oh,
We're
Lord have
recording.
mercy. Oh, God. Oh, clap? Clap for Joel.
No, Mom, listen. We do that so that we
know.
can sync
And I
the
thought
audio.
I'd be
Oh,
the
you
one-
know?
I know. I mean,
Oh, she already knows. Oh,
I
'cause,
knew
like-
he was talking to you, but I was just asking.
Well, so we clap so that the audio and the video, we can sync it up in the program later. Yeah. But you said clap?
I clap for Joel. I mean, yeah, he needs a.
It is affirmation. We'll clap for Joel. Well done, Joel.
I'm so proud of you. We are here, NC Unscripted. This is season 3, episode 10. And we have got a special Mother's Day edition of a podcast for us. So we're excited about this one. We're going to talk about things that are serious. We're going to talk about things that are kind of serious. We'll probably laugh a little bit. If we do a really good podcast for Mother's Day, we're going to cry.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can
that
you-
alone
Where's
made
the
them cry.
Kleenex? Where's the Kleenex?
So we've got me and Jordan. We got our mamas on the show with us. Like, should we introduce our moms or should they introduce themselves? How do we want to do this?
I think you should introduce yourself.
I like that. Maybe say your name, your social security number, how long you been a mama. You know, like some of those fun little details.
Social Security's already probably been stolen anyway.
Yeah,
So
you're right. Because we sent money to the Nigerian prince.
Mom's been clicking those links in the email. Well, they said they needed help. I don't know. I just want
They're
to
going
make
to
sure.
send me $2 million back. Don't worry. I just sent them 5,000.
No, actually, it's just the opposite. I'm skeptical of everybody.
you've
To
learned.
where there's sometimes some people legitimately trying to get in touch with me, and I'm rejecting
believe you.
them. No.
I'm your husband.
No.
I am Jan Alexis Babin Ducote.
Oh, we went
Full
middle.
name.
We
Yes.
did it all.
I was a Babin. I am a Cajun from Louisiana. 100%. As far back as you can go. In fact, in June, we're going to Nova Scotia to see where our roots came
Really?
from.
Yeah.
Originally came from France, then to Nova Scotia, and then they were exiled into Louisiana.
Wow.
So 100% Cajun. Jordan's 100% Cajun too.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the next generation starts filtering down there. Been married 53 years, have 3 wonderful children, very, very proud of and love them dearly. And can't wait to talk about some things.
Oh, gosh.
Things. I like that. I like the way that you kind of just looked in his direction and said,
The
I
gun
got
is
some
loaded."
things I want to share.
I've been watching this podcast, and I got some things I want to say here today.
All right, Mom, let's hear a little bit about you.
I am Diana Eaton Butterfield. There's not all that extra stuff. Oh, Diana Lynn. Excuse me. I was
Diana
named
Lynn.
after a
Oh.
movie star.
Oh,
Really?
Yes.
Who?
Diana Lynn.
I was thinking Loretta Lynn.
I was named after
I'm not a coal miner's daughter.
Oh, good reference.
Very nice.
I was named after Alexis Smith, who was supposedly a 50s movie star.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. I am married to Gary for 45 years. We have 3 kids, 9 grandkids.
Your moms. This is a Mother's Day episode. Like so we're going to talk mostly mom stuff. So we've got some kind of thoughts that we're going to go around. But, before we get into all the serious stuff, do you have any like just random funny memories or just things that stick out to you about being like an early mom, like a young mom? That's what I mean. Like when you had babies in the house, was it easy? Was it difficult? Was it fun? Just tell us a little bit about what it was like being a young mom. What did that look like for you?
Well, I want to preface with I'm the mom who bit your ear.
She went full Mike Tyson.
And it was a very deserving moment.
Okay, I mean you got to share the story. You can't just say that. Golly.
Well, you shared this story in a podcast.
I did.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I
it's just
remember this.
retaliation.
Yeah.
So share your version. Share the true version.
Well, we were at a food court trying to eat, and you just kept yelling and screaming. And I said, you need to be quiet. People are watching you. And so you would look around and, the little social butterfly you are, did it some more. So I just leaned in and I said, you need to stop it. You wouldn't stop it. So I said,
Oh, yeah.
and then it was a deserving scream.
Like, how hard are we talking? Like, blood?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
No.
So not full Mike Tyson.
And
Just
I
partially.
thought I was bad with pinching.
Oh, yeah.
So was it a spot where like you had no other options?
Yes.
It
Oh,
was-
absolutely.
So was it trying to teach me a lesson, or were you just super mad?
Yeah, exactly.
You made me mad. It
Yes.
was you. It was the boy. No.
So did anyone say anything to you after you bit me? Okay, why did you pinch Jordan? I want to hear this.
Which time?
Oh,
Oh, dude.
It was more I think it was more like Carrie would pinch Jordan and Rebecca more
For
than
you?
I would.
you sub out the pinching assignment.
Because she knew they'd all get in trouble if they wouldn't be quiet, and so they'd pinch him.
Was it like in church or
yeah,
where?
like church or
Nice.
anywhere that they had to be
Restaurants.
quiet. Yeah,
Store. Home.
always wondered why
Bedtime.
they were so quiet in the air. And now I know. As years go
Pinching.
by, they start telling you everything.
Oh, I
they
could
do.
Oh,
still,
yes.
I could still remember the 4 claw marks, like in the forearm. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
and my funniest story of Jordan was when he was about 3, and summer was over. All the neighborhood kids went back to school, and he was all alone in the neighborhood. And one morning I couldn't find him, and you know how panicky you get when you can't find your child. And he had gone down the street to where this little playhouse in the neighbor's backyard. I don't know how I found him. I don't remember, but I got him and brought him home and spanked him. And I said, now, you do not go out this yard without telling me, He snuck out again. It wasn't long later. He was gone again. That happened 3 times.
I like it.
And I felt so bad because I'd whip him. I mean, not, I wouldn't beat him. I'd just whip him a little bit and get his
I
attention.
mean, what is beating?
I mean, you know.
what's the line?
Open for interpretation.
Well, I didn't bite his ear. I should have known that.
He wouldn't have done it again if he
I
had.
Exactly.
But I don't think he ran away after that. I think it was the last
So the
time.
third beating is what, or the third whipping. I'm sorry.
Whipping.
Whipping, spanking.
Maybe I tied him up in the room after that. I don't know.
Probably. A little jump rope.
Do you remember the
Right.
pressure of having young kids all at the house? Do you remember that? Or do you just remember the great moments, the joy moments?
You do forget it all. You do tend to remember just the good
stuff.
things. I remember we were tired a lot, you know, it was, but I don't remember dreading anything. I don't remember complaining a whole lot. It was a joy really to me. I mean, you had your ups and downs, but I enjoyed my children. I was glad though that I waited that distance, 3.5 years. I waited till they were potty trained before I had the next one, which was wise.
But also because you were, you had, what's it called whenever you get super sick? Whenever you're pregnant?
The morning sickness.
But like way worse. It was like,
It
like
was 9
constant.
months.
Like, but like, if the fan came on and you felt the wind blows, just, I mean, it was, she was really
wow.
sick.
I was
the whole-
laying
the
in
whole
bed and
pregnancy.
the electricity, the air conditioner came on, and when it hit my face,
nausea. Yeah, she was very sick all 3
So it
pregnancies.
took 3.5 years to recover from
That's
that,
right.
just to get the courage to have another kid. But
Yeah.
so you remember a lot of the joy moments. Is that kind of for you as well? I mean,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I worked full time too. We'd make the most of all of our time together when we were together, and yeah, I don't remember bad moments. You know, I like you. I really enjoyed being a mom.
Me too.
what do you feel or what do you think when you hear or see or watch other moms that were in that early season that you were in? Like that age that we were just talking about, a lot of new kids, but they got kids, young kids at the house. How do you actually encourage, empathize with them, or you say, "Hey, just toughen up, get ready for it"? Like, what do you think about that?
I think the generation now is not as tough as we were. You know, I mean, it's a different environment these days, and so we just were more just live each day back then. And today, that everyone's kind of anxious and nervous, and you know, am I doing this right or whatever? And I don't even remember thinking that. So I would say just enjoy life. Don't be so nervous about everything. Just enjoy this time because it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It's like a you say nervous. To me, it's just fear. It's like if you kind of had to, you know, put it down, there's a fear of, because I think of the almost too much information and too much to think about and to know about, that you're like estimating every day, you know, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that happens when they're 8 years old and it manifests into this horrible thing when they're 28. And it's almost like you hear these stories so much that it's sort of like it causes, I would assume. I mean, it's kind of where we're at. You know, it's like sometimes I'm like that. I'm like, just stop thinking so much. We just gotta, you know, like Jesus said, right? You know, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will have its own problems. So just worry about today. Maybe easier said than done, but yeah. Anyway, just to
Yeah, and in comparison, I would think they compare a lot because you have Facebook and social media stuff that we didn't have back then. And I had a Better Homes and Garden baby book that was written in the 50s, and I went for all 3 of my children. It went by stages, like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, what they were supposed to be doing around that time. Are they supposed to be crawling or this or that? And that helped me. I'd talk to my mom a lot, but that's about it. You know, we didn't have a lot of books even. We didn't have any social media. So nowadays, though, there's so much out there, and they wonder if they're doing right, doing wrong. And there's so much stuff to buy for your children too. So many so much equipment for babies these days. I look at that and think, wow, that would have been awesome to have. back then.
What's one of the things that you were like, I would have loved to have?
Oh,
that.
these little vibrating swings, and they play music, and oh my goodness,
You were the vibrating swing.
Oh yeah,
Singing to. Do you kind of feel similarly?
Oh, absolutely. I think of the technology that there is today just really kind of dampens life especially for kids. I mean, like you, the kids would go outside, you'd be outside all the time playing. And I mean, your the things that you would think of, the things that you would play, your imagination, the
yes.
imagination was
Absolutely.
incredible. And that just doesn't really exist today because everything's right here. And same with parents, trying to find things online. If my baby's not doing this at this time, I've got to take them to the doctor. Something's wrong. It's like, no, they're just not
In
blooming like that.
time.
Yeah.
In time.
And
we had a similar thing with that with was it Ari or Elin? I don't know right now. Anyway, one of them was having trouble. She was stuttering, and was it Elin?
Mm-hmm.
And we started getting worried because at first it's like, oh, okay, hey, they're just trying to figure it out, and then she just kept, and then she's like wasn't able to get sentences out, and then she was getting frustrated, and then she was quitting, like she just wouldn't even. And then Ari started speaking for her, because Ari knew what she was trying to say. We were like, don't do that, let her work it out, and it went on and on. Finally, we took her to I guess a speech therapist, or they were like, basically they said, yeah, I mean it's a little bit, but just give it time, let it. Let her work out. Of course, you start Googling stuff, right?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
And it's like she's never going to talk.
Right.
Like that's it.
You're
That's
right.
the bottom line. She's never going to talk. And and so anyway, that was a real example for us of like. Anyway, it ended up working out. They said give it 6 more months because then she'll be at this age, and 4 or whatever. And a lot of times their brains just develop into that area, and sure enough, it was almost to the week, seriously, because we had set a date to have a follow-up appointment, and I mean we're 3 weeks out, we're like she still can't get a sentence out, and all of a sudden one day it was like
So you both said that comparison wasn't like a real big deal there. So you're telling me that you just literally didn't compare your family, your marriage, your kids, or that whole life to other families? It just
Not a
wasn't a
whole.
thing?
no,
I don't remember
No.
necessarily.
it was my family. This is my tribe.
Right.
Both of you moved early on in family. So did you, I mean, I know our story. What was moving like with a young family and uprooting where you were and finding a new spot? Was that difficult? Was it an adventure? Because I know the reason I'm asking this is because there is something very intriguing to a young family to go blaze your own trail, to go do your own thing. And your stories are different. They're unique. But what was that like for you as a young family?
Well, we had when we decided to surrender our lives to Jesus, all our family and friends didn't know who we were anymore. I mean, we were kind of separated from our family a lot in ways. And right there we decided, especially Van and I, it's us. We're a family, like Dana said, and it's us with Jesus. And so as we had our children and we were raising them maybe a little different than our family and friends were doing or whatever, we just had to boldly say, this is the decision we're making in life through God. And so we were confident in that, so that was a foundation right there. And so when Carrie was 12, Rebecca was about 8, Jordan was 4, that's when we moved to Gulfport. Now, we had always lived in Gonzales, Louisiana, and then moved here. I know y'all moved a lot. We just moved them once. But it was very hard leaving the family, leaving my mom. She helped me a lot raising the kids too. She was a sounding board, but just never even being far away from home, period. Better yet, moving, So the kids, I don't even remember talking to them much about it. We just kind of told them we're moving and we're going, we did visit here a couple of times, but I just remember the sick feeling in my stomach the day we left. We were all so sad. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
We loved our house. We loved our neighborhood. We loved
You loved your life.
Gonzales, but we were called. I mean, we knew that, and so our family was strong. We were strong together, and so I didn't have any qualms about that. We moved here and we didn't have any friends. I mean, we didn't know anybody in Gulfport, and so we had to be a close family.
You moved to take the lead of Northwood Church. Your family did. So it was God was calling you to that. You've used that language, and that's been part of it.
Yes.
Your story, or our story, is not about church. It was why did we move so much? Why did we always go on adventures?
Job opportunities. There was always a job opportunity for your dad. So we would all follow along, and I would always find something. But he was the reason why we'd leave. But every time that we found a place that we thought, okay, we could go there, we talked to each one of you and said, okay, this is a place that we're looking at. What do you think? Is this some place that you would like to go to? And when we'd go to them, the first place we'd always go to is the state capitol, because we wanted you to see the state, what there was about the state. I remember, all of them were fine except for this last one, to Mississippi. And we asked Joseph, it's like, would you want to go here? And he said, are there hurricanes?
No.
And we said, yeah, but they're not,
Oh gosh.
they're not bad. They're not bad. So we were here for Katrina.
Oh no.
The key to good moving around as a family is lying to them.
I'd never
How
known.
long? How long were y'all here before Katrina hit?
We moved here in 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right?
6
Yeah.
years, something like that.
Yeah.
He was a teenager, huh? I mean, right?
He was, yeah,
Yeah.
early teens.
Early
and
teens.
and my mom and dad actually, they lived in Kansas. And when we moved here, Dad had called me one day and he said, I want Mom to have, the family all around
Yeah.
if something should happen to me. So they came down here 10 days before Katrina
Oh, I
with all
didn't
their
know that.
household goods
didn't
and half a
realize
side of beef. And
Oh yeah.
our neighborhood ate so well
We ate a whole
after
cow,
Katrina.
man. After Katrina.
We were the house.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
What would you have done if a kid said, "I don't want to"?
We would have seriously considered not
Mm.
going.
Okay.
Because it just, Rebecca, we asked her, she was a senior when we moved here.
Wow.
And it's like, you're going to lose all of this high school experience from here. You're not going to graduate with your friends if you come here. And she said it was fine.
Wow.
I know this is an indicting question, but do you regret moving around so much?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, the things that we've seen, has just been spectacular. We find beauty wherever we go.
Yeah. But key parts of your story are church, but I also know key parts of our story is everywhere we moved, church was a massive part of our home, of our life. And
Yes.
it varied in different ways in there. But in the home, it wasn't just attending church. What did spiritual life, what did church at home look like for you raising kids? Like, what did it look like for you as moms? How did you raise kids in a Christian manner?
Carrie was 3 before we first got saved and first started going to church. So the first 3 years of Carrie's life was not in church, believe me. From then on, of course, they were all in church. And at home, we didn't like everybody get here together and we're gonna have a Bible study kind of thing. We never did that. We prayed at meals. We prayed when someone was sick. We prayed every night at bedtime.
Was it the same prayer
No,
every time?
no, just whatever. I think a lot of times as they got older, we'd ask them, what do you need to pray about? A lot of times we pray about things that happened at school that day, or someone called me something or whatever. They had a test or something. It was included in our life.
Yeah.
I thought of that scripture, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and
Yeah.
he'll direct your paths. And that's about how we lived our life. Everything was in God's will, but not weird way, but, just we trusted in God. And so I hope that's what came across to the kids. We trust in God and we do things God's way, and they went to Christian schools. So, they memorize a lot of scripture, and we talk at home about, memorizing the scripture and learning things. And it just was it was just part of life.
I think we did honestly, this is gonna sound terrible, but I think we did 2 Bible studies ever as a house.
And it would be at like a 1-year Bible reading, and it would be at the worst place.
Just awkward verses that were just
Like
not
a
good.
harlot or something. And
What's a harlot?
I mean, Jordan was like 4 or something, and
I remember one time we did a Bible study. I think it was probably January 1st or 2nd because it was hey, we're gonna start reading the 1-year Bible as a family. Here we go, and we're reading for as a family, and then all of a sudden a guy at the church knocked on the door and came in for some, I don't remember why. Anyway, he walks in, here's the pastor's family sitting there with all their Bibles open. And he's just and my dad's hey, this isn't actually just, I mean, this is a good thing to see the family doing, but also we don't.
Can you take a picture of this and put it on social media?
Dude, exactly right.
Oh, that's the moment.
So I guess in one sense that could sound really bad, and there's people out there who would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's horrible." But the thing that mattered more for me was how we lived it out, and because that was real.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm 39, and the way that we learned how to live for God was so day to day and just literally a part of life. We maybe didn't have a lot of Bible studies. Our parents lived in front of us, but also we were in church all the time.
You had Bible studies.
And school
And
too.
school,
and so to talk
So
again,
it's not like it was void in our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was raised in a Christian home, and we did have Bible studies at night when I was growing up.
Oh, there you
Grandma
go.
and Grandpa, they sit down with you and Debbie?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is so
Yeah.
nice though, because we never
Yeah.
had a Bible in our house.
Yeah.
And your parents, not our house.
No, right. As
You were
I- right.
pastors?
As I
Yeah,
was-
we didn't. No Bibles.
As I was
that
growing
at
up,
church.
right.
No, that's just how we were. Even all of my relatives were Christians. When we'd go to Texas to see all the family.
Wow.
My dad's family was the first family to have a church in the town that they lived in. So they'd open up the back of their trunk of the car and they'd have church. And people would come around. So it's I've always been part of that. Gary, on the other hand, was not. And as we raised all of you, I think by the way that we lived and we were with Grandma and Grandpa a lot, you saw what a Christian life was, but when we'd go out to other family members, you also saw what a non-Christian family was like.
Yeah.
And it made a difference, and we had to protect the kids. And so, we had to stop doing some things, as hard as it was, because it was family, but it wasn't healthy, and we finally came to the point where we can't do that.
Yeah. So knowing our story, and because hearing what you said, that paints this perfect image. That's what it does. We grew up. I didn't even know Grandma and Grandpa did that. It's wow, I can never do that. But early marriage for you was not good.
Not good.
Was
No.
not good. Now,
No.
was that because he wasn't saved? Is that the problem here? Did you lead him to the Lord, Mom?
I did not.
Is that safe? No, I'm just kidding.
He grew up Catholic. I grew up Baptist. And it's okay, as soon as we got married, we moved away, which was hard because, like you, I was always with my family. I was always with Mom and Dad. I never lived outside of the house. I was always with them. And so when we got married and moved away 3 days later, I remember sitting on the side of the car on the windshield, waving to my mom and dad, waving goodbye. And I could tell my dad was crying. I was crying. And I got in the car. I said, Gary, I hate you.
Wow.
3 days into marriage?
3 days. But anyway.
Why did y'all move again? Was it a job?
His job.
Okay.
Yep, his job, and we moved away. Looking back, it was the best thing that could happen to us, but it was hard. People say the first year of marriage is the hardest. The first 5 years were horrible.
Did you have kids? At what point did Becca come in?
Rebecca came in at the very end of the 5 years.
Okay.
And
She fixed everything.
She made us think. We went to counseling because it's this is over. We cannot do this. and we couldn't counsel together because the counselor said, there's no way I'm putting you two in a room together. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I remember the tube stock story.
Yes, there is a tube sock story where I tried to kill Gary. And
Well, you want to say
Wow.
it? That's something you
the
just
tube sock story. We were married for probably 2 years, and I was working in a mental health hospital, so I had to learn moves and things that to keep people from hurting other people and myself. And so I got pretty toned. And Gary was a circulation manager at a newspaper. So one morning he was sitting on the edge of the bed, and this is late 70s, and tube socks were like 3 foot long and nice and thick, and he had his tube socks sitting there getting ready to put them on. I thought, I can end this right now.
Oh my God.
So I got the tube sock and I wrapped it around his neck and I pulled as tight as I could. And
Strangulation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I did not care. And I looked up in the mirror and he's just going,
He's
like,
like,
please.
thank God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went out
God
as bad
is
as
real.
you
He
do.
answers prayers.
I am saved.
He's like, I feel you too. Yeah.
So at that point, I just,
Did he like flip you over? Like,
oh, he couldn't.
Oh, Dad, I think you could have, just so you know.
did you like just gave up? You're like, okay, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
that's
finish.
it.
Yeah.
We laughed. He quit that job actually, and we moved back home to Kansas in a horse trailer. Everything that would fit in a horse trailer, we brought home.
Love it.
And so we went back home and started repairing our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting about stories like that, though, is because it's in the past, it's like we can laugh about it.
Dude.
But like if that story was said today,
Absolutely.
cops would be called.
Yes.
Um,
Oh,
divorce would be imminent.
Children
Like,
taken
absolutely.
away.
like yeah, and
Yes.
and I don't know what to think about that because in one side I'm like, man, that's dangerous. Like there's a lot of danger in that, and obviously, it's abuse, right?
Yeah.
But also we talk about a different generation that we're in now,
Yeah.
and the first 5 years of marriage being absolutely horrible. And I mean, I know some stories from my grandparents and things, just how bad things were, but yet, whether somebody agrees or disagrees with some of the things that have happened, it's still the part I'm getting to is the resilience to actually stay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
and the reality that whenever you stick it out through those extremely difficult, I mean, I don't know how it can get much worse than what you just described, right?
Yeah.
But the beauty on the other side of that, like you guys started going to a counselor, and there's just the part that you said about it being so bad that the counselor's like,
Absolutely.
we can't meet together.
Man.
Like that's a real thing for a lot
Right.
of people nowadays. And what I've seen with some people is just they give up. They give up at the moment where they're like, this is never going to work, and probably it wasn't as bad as where y'all were at, honestly. And it's like on the other side of this, I know horrendous, emotional, dragging, draining weight, and 3 years. It's like if you can get through that, break, compromise, humble yourself, whatever it is that needs to happen in order for it to come together. Not that I'm trying to justify somebody staying in a really harmful situation. That's not the point of that. Putting those situations aside, but then pointing to the ones it's like, I know you don't ever agree. I know you don't ever feel like you're on the same page. But if you can get through that, there is I mean, come on, think about it. I mean, you wouldn't be here.
Right.
No, that's
Yeah.
absolutely
Well,
true.
none of the kids,
No.
none of
No,
the
right.
families. Yeah.
So when did Jesus come in? Was
Yeah.
and
Well, we had come back. We had Rebecca, and we went to the counseling, and even the counselor said, "I don't see this working out for you." So when we got together, we had a decision to make, and this would have been the first divorce in the family on either
Right.
side.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Us too.
And so somebody had gifted us a marriage retreat. We had to go away, just the two of us, and every night we had to end with a letter to one another, and talk to each other. And at that point, we said, okay, well, we were fighting against, okay, who's going to get Rebecca? You know, who's going to have Rebecca in this divorce? And it's like, you know, I wasn't giving her up. He wasn't giving her up.
Oh, wow.
But somehow after the retreat and in the days following, weeks following, whatever, you know, he says it like this, Gary, he chose me. He chose me. So we stayed together. And then everything just, I mean, it really was like night and day.
Wow.
Everything just fell into place. He got saved when we were in Minnesota. And so, you know, he was walking his walk and I was walking my walk. Even though I was raised in church and been there forever, you know, I still wasn't right. So
How old were y'all again in those 5 years? When did y'all get married?
I was 23. I was 19 when we got married. I
Okay.
was 23
Yeah.
when we had Rebecca.
Sometimes this is what I picture. Okay, so obviously I've known you guys for 24 years now, something like that.
Yep.
We've been together. So whenever you know people at like whenever you begin to know someone, you know, I mean, y'all were, I don't know, 30s or 40s. I don't know how old. Whenever 40s, whenever y'all came here.
No.
So all I knew was I don't know, again, 40-ish, 45, somewhere up in there, version of the Butterfield marriage, right?
Right.
That on. And I've heard stories here and there of how bad it was, you know. But whenever you begin to put ages on it, like 19, okay, I know 19-year-olds right now.
Yeah.
It's people that are watching, it might be 19 years old. It's like, picture yourself in your current state of maturity, all that, moving away from your family, all that, and then so there's so much going on there. You're taken out of your support system. You're married to somebody 3 days. You don't know each other. You know,
Right.
you're
How
just-
long did you date before you got married?
3 months.
Oh,
Wow.
it is
It's
a
a-
miracle,
it's a-
y'all are.
Wow.
Yeah,
recipe
it is.
for disaster.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, because you know, again, we say this a lot. It's like people that are watching are as they're seeing the current version of look at the butter. Oh wow, Micah, Joseph, and Becca. And, oh, you know, Mr. Gary and Miss Diana. They're so funny and there's so much joy. Da, da, da. And people, they put that as like the paramount thing, and they have no idea the bloodshed
Right.
back in the day.
It's true.
True.
And so then they look at the hard things in their life right now, and they're like, well, we don't have that, so whatever. You know, we're going to quit. I got to go find somebody who I can have that with from the get-go. And I don't know of any marriage that has, you know, that is, you know, made it to 30, 40, 50 years that doesn't have a story in the back that's like
Absolutely.
just difficult. And so you talk about different generations. Different
That's it.
generations want what their parents have, but they want it now, not in 30 years.
Our generation, my brothers and sisters, was the first divorces, and you just committed, and you learned how to overcome situations. I mean, I always think of people getting a divorce, and I think they're going to go find someone else. They're going to have to get used to that person's idiosyncrasies too. You know, I mean, you might as well, and especially through Jesus, be able to sit down and work it out. I mean, Gary wasn't necessarily following Jesus at that time, but there was a healing process there where he said he chose
Right.
you. That's so wonderful, you know? And so, so like you say, not to just give up on things. And
Yeah, you can't get the fight is hard. The fight is real, but it's worth it.
Right.
It's because, like you said, you know, our kids wouldn't be here,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine that.
so,
Right.
Micah, you always knew saved parents, though.
Yeah,
You-
yeah,
that
that's
was-
that's
all
all I
that
knew.
was-
You know, there's some uniqueness to our family too, that the resilience, the grit, and the determination, and moving around. There was this almost mantra. It was, "Hey, it's us five. It's us five.
Right,
Us
that's-
five against the world."
That's
Which
it, yeah.
which was beautiful until you find a spot where you're landing. Like
Right.
Mississippi, some of the difficulties actually came in my teenage years and trying to navigate, hold on, it's just us five. Like, and it produced, so, like, there's the other side of it that because you're so tight and because there is defensive mechanisms built into your family and for the right reasons, there's almost an inability to grow deeper friendships and relationships
Yeah.
because it's just us five.
This is
Right.
yeah.
and
That's
and
true.
so it's beautiful, but I almost feel like raise a red flag of going so far, because then when you're in the family of Christ, I mean the church,
Right.
Yeah.
we're called to be, we're brothers and sisters in the Lord. And
To let people into that
that's it.
part of you is what's never been done, really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we were, I don't think you ever said don't let others in. I don't think that was ever said, but we built in a system that said you can only get this far because we know
You
we
were
will.
protecting.
Yeah.
You know, we tried to protect our kids. We didn't want them to go through what we went
Right.
through. And we did understand what was going through a 15-year-old's mind, things like that. So,
Yeah.
you want to protect them, but on the other hand, as they get older, you have to learn that they have to make the decisions themselves. That was the most important thing to me as I look back in raising the kids, was that we helped them to form their own convictions, because I knew as they got older, they're going to be in a place where dad and mom's not going to be there to make the decision for them, to recognize right from wrong, to recognize good from evil, to understand the consequences. You know, a lot of times there were other kids their age that were experiencing things, and we wouldn't cut them down or anything, but
Yeah.
we would help them to see the consequences in what they did. It hurt mom and dad and future generations by something that someone chose. And so you're trying to protect your kids from all that. You don't want them to experience what you experienced, but on the other hand, they have to start their own life. And those, again, talking about seasons, I mean, being in the season we're in now, your life is like in chunks of time. And like you said, at that time, all 5 of you are together in your family, but then you start getting married, and it's like it starts shattering you a little bit. You don't, and then you kind of get together after everyone's married, all the in-laws and everything, and then you start having the kids, and your family, it's not as close, and that's normal. I mean, you have your own family. You have your own family. Your kids will start having kids, and everyone has their own family, and so you're never that unit again. I remember when my dad was dying of cancer, and we went to the hospital. It was my mom and dad and me and my 2 brothers and sisters, and I thought, I think this is the first time we've been alone as a unit in 40 years, whatever it was at that time. That was kind of sad to me. I really, because you don't have that time. I mean, every time you're together, you're with the extended family at Christmas or whatever, So it is something to remember, those original 5 people.
That right there is a big deal for people that are my age to understand that y'all and all the parents that are y'all's age, that's a grieving. So you grieve
Absolutely.
what was, and so you don't want to grieve it to such an extent that it causes you to not appreciate the beauty of what's going on. Because the hard thing is that you raise your kids to launch and to have their own families, and then whenever you're successful in that, you know that you're losing that part of life. And
It is.
so it's this weird conundrum, and just not to go far down this road, but it is the same thing that happens in church too, which is you go to a church, or you start a church, you become part of a church in order to see the Great Commission happen, which is multiplication, right? The family of God grow. And so say a church is 100 people, and you love that small church feel, and then that church grows, and now it's 200 people. And it's like, well, it's not what it used to be. Not everybody's not as close as they used to be. It's like, well, that is the way that it is. Man, a healthy church is going to deal with growth issues at some point. That is the natural thing. Why? Because be fruitful and multiply is not just a physical thing that God, it's something that he implemented even for the kingdom of God as a whole. So you're going to deal with it. How weird, it's weird. It's weird if you raise 3 kids and they never marry, they never launch, and they're 50 years old and you're 80 and they're still at the house.
Yeah.
Like there's something wrong with that. And there might be some physical issues or something that happens, but in a generic situation, it's like, well, no, eventually that healthy 18-year-old, are they graduating high school? Are they getting a job? Do they have forward motion in life? because if they're not launching, there's an issue.
Yeah.
But it's grieving because
It is.
you say it all the time.
It
You're
is.
like, man, I just would love for you 3 kids just to be back at the house. And,
We keep a picture of y'all.
Yeah.
Right before we moved, they were 12, 8, and 4. We keep that little picture right by our kitchen window just to remember them every day.
So
That's sad.
it sounds so sad.
no, it is, and I think it's a valid conversation point. Is how did you, and how do you, and how will you actually deal with the transitions of, it's not
Exactly.
titles,
Yes.
but I think about when a woman becomes a mom, it's no longer me, it's I'm living for this kid or these kids. And then that kid goes to school, and that's a transition.
That's a good word.
But then
Transitions.
that kid goes to school, and then they become a teenager, and there's that another huge transition where it's just different. And then the critical moment, then the next transition when they graduate high school, when they leave the house, and that looks different for everybody. And when you as a mom realize that this kid is no longer going to live in my home ever again, how do you deal with that? Like,
You thought you were going to get rid of us, so we moved a block away from you.
that's not
that
the
way.
answer for everybody.
I mean, it is different with each child. When Rebecca actually launched, I mean, there was excitement, because she was the only girl in the family, and she was starting her life, and that was going to be fun. And then you left, and then it was a little quieter, because I mean, Joseph lost his best friend then, and so so we had to take Joseph to Universal all the time.
It's a coping mechanism, Mom. No, let's talk about it though. Then Joseph goes to Paris Island, and he's a Marine, and he's gone. I mean, he's moving to Japan in July.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't like it, but it is his life. He's got our 3 youngest grandkids, so it's like, and we see them at least once a month. So this is going to be a change for us. But one thing we know about all 3 of you is that God has you.
Right.
And whether I like it or not, God's got the plan, so I have to walk with it.
So daily, what does it actually look like daily? You wake up in the morning, you look at the 12-year-old, 8-year-old, 4-year-old picture. Like, how do you actually, I agree, but how do you actually walk through that at 8 a.m. in the morning?
Well, every morning we pray for each of you, and the grandkids for the day. We want your day to be good. So, we pray a blessing over you every day. We think about you. We go through our day. I mean, we don't just sit there and go, oh,
Yeah. No,
my babies,
yes.
my babies. We go up to the pool and forget about you. And
Take little trips.
Both of you have
Yes.
pools. That's the key here.
We can now take trips and don't. Yes.
yeah, we drive down the street and look and see if you're outside.
Become a stalker.
Then we
Pools
go
and
eat
stalkers.
without you.
Because you can afford it now.
We can definitely afford it now. No, but I mean, it's not that you're out of our minds at all.
I was really surprised at how upset I was. I guess the word would be. I thought I had prepared myself, because we were teaching ladies
Right.
how to be
Right.
married and how to raise their kids. And we did always have to think that we were raising adults. How are they going to be as adults? Are they going to be able to take care of their children, my grandchildren? I was raising my grandchildren's parent here. So how are we? But, I lost my train of thought again. I take a
you
little
said-
rabbit.
I do the same thing. The older I get, the more I'm like my mom.
Yeah.
My brain just goes, choo. So, you said something that maybe I'll key off of.
How hard I thought I had it under control of how I was going to react. I thought I'd be happier. I thought, we're going to be, they're out of the house and we can go do what we want to do. But I was very sad. And I've got to say, it's only been within the last couple of years that I don't kind of grieve at times. Not every day, not every day wake up and look at the picture. But if it's been a while since I've talked to them or seen them, because life just, even though you're living close to each other, you still don't see each other that much. And, I'll start getting that feeling like I need my children fixed. I need to get, and I do text a lot, like sometimes just a little heart in the middle of the day. I think, oh, Jordan's probably in the middle of a meeting or something, and his phone's dinging at the worst time.
No, but Dad's phone dings. My phone does not ding.
He's got my ding tone, whatever you call that, as a locomotive. And so you've got to change that. Oh, goodness.
You're going to know your kids as adults longer than you will kids.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And that thought is, Ari's 12, so we're definitely still in the middle of that. And, but it's like a couple years ago, I was like, we're way more than halfway done with her already. Yeah. Like as far as raising her in this season, it's like, oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. And now here it's like, she's 12. She's finished in 6th grade. It's like she's going to be driving in like 3-4 years, and then at that point, it's like even less. So it's not like till they're 18. It's it's like it's already, and all of a sudden you're like, boom, you're there, and I'm way more analytical, and I get stuck in the thoughts of all these things a lot because I can already sense the grieving of that. Mm-hmm. It's like we're done. You're looking forward to so many things as a young person. You're looking forward to graduation or, license, graduation, marriage, college, kids, career. Like all of these things are in front of you. And then all of a sudden there's more in the rear view than there is in front of you. Yeah. And it's like, oh, so the license, the graduation, the marriage, the kids, the young kids. Yep. Oh, our youngest is 6. Oh, that whole thing that we were looking forward to, our entire existence, that season, we're on the other side of that. Oh, we're 40. Yep. Okay. Oh, the body's starting to not be as energetic as it used to. Like, y'all have already gone through all these things.
Just wait.
But I know, that's what I always hear. Yeah.
And one of the hardest things, I think, for parents is to when your child has that first love and their eyes are on that person instead of you. You're that person that they come to for everything. Yeah. Then all of a sudden they don't come to you for that. They go to that person, which, like you said, is proper. Yeah, it would be abnormal to still be coming and crying to me and Dad about something. You talk to Nadine,
Well, we we went through some things whenever I was like 15, 16, 17 years old in our relationship, which was, at least this is the way I remember it, is I wasn't at the house as much. I was the baby of the family, so I'm the last one, right? Yeah. And so if I'm not there, it's really quiet, like you said, and so I'm not there as much. I'm hanging out with buddies. I'm also the first boy. And so I was different than my sisters. Right. And so Mom was taking things, the way that I remember it was, you were taking that lack of communication and that lack of togetherness as me not loving you. And, I can remember Dad saying stuff, or in his own way, Jan, he's a boy. And like you can't think that
raising boys is a lot different than raising girls.
So that maternal connection that you had with me, when that's severed, it's different with a boy than a girl. Absolutely. And I'm speaking as a son, not as a father in that, because I haven't gone through that on the other side of it. But you see that it's just different, and it's proper because it'd be weird if it wasn't. If there wasn't a change, and like you just said, but now I look back and I realize what was going on. But at the time, I was just like, "Give me space, like like let me kind of poke my chest out here." You know what I'm saying? And so for moms, I can see that being a struggle. People watching or hearing this,
you have to let your boy become a man.
Yeah.
So how do you celebrate the milestones in your kids' life, knowing that it's a transition in your own?
I celebrated like when Carrie got married. I just remembered how I felt when I got married. I mean, she was so excited. She was excited to be getting married. So I didn't get so upset with Carrie. Now, as it went down, Rebecca and Jordan, you start realizing that. But yeah, just celebrating with them because remembering your own excitement.
That's a good tip.
I agree with that. And celebrate each season. Each one of them are different, but celebrate the season that you're in,
That your kid's in?
Yeah,
Okay.
that the kids are in. And then, grab hold of the grandkids.
Let's not get on the grandkids.
I mean, I have a good relationship with all of the grandkids,
Let me ask y'all a question. How have y'all navigated being grandmas with, your daughters, your sons, and how have you respected boundaries as grandparents? What does that look like? How, because from where I'm at, I know that because I'm a talker, I'm an analyzer. I know that eventually my girls get married, more than likely, right? Get married, and I'm going to have to learn when to say something, when not to say something. When they have kids, I know I'm probably not going to struggle as much with that other than just like, I wouldn't do it like that. But whatever, it's your kids, But for y'all, how have y'all grown? Or maybe you made mistakes too. It's not like you did it perfect.
Yeah.
I definitely made mistakes. I have great wise counsel, though, because Gary goat, Diana.
Yeah. I was fixing to say his
That's the council.
Van's voice. Well, I can hear it.
Jan, let them.
Right. But it is hard because we do know what's right.
They'll find out.
So before you say it, let me say that first off is that I have learned more and more the older I get that there's a lot of things that mom and dad did say back 15 years ago that I'm like,
true.
And now I'm like, I get it. I agree.
They do. You do have to make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you don't learn. Failure helps you succeed. So, I mean, you can say all the right things, but it's your life.
Yeah.
I know. Talking about it with the husband, you with Gary and me and Van, like, okay, I see this happening or whatever, and you talk it out. You get out the words to where you don't have to say anything. It's like you talk it out and say,
That's
okay,
awesome.
it's never something that's dreadful.
Right.
Or if it was something dreadful, I'm sure we would talk about it.
Yeah. So the reason I bring up the boundary thing is because, we've been through it as a family, and I've recognized. I know because I know my mom because I'm like I said, I'm more and more like her, and so I know
Give
the
her
moment.
grace.
Oh yeah,
Grace.
I do.
Yeah.
Because I know where the advice or the words are coming from. It's I want to help.
Yep.
And also
Yeah.
there's that motherly nurturing. I mean, you're still moms at heart, right? So you still want to nurture and help. So you have to kind of withhold that sometimes to respect a boundary at the same time. And that's its own struggle. So I know if most families go through that, then there's probably people that watch. Both from the kids' perspective, who they're 25 years old right now, 30 years old, and their parents are just like, they kind of feel like their parents are nagging them.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, hit pause, realize why that's happening.
Right.
That is, it's
great.
actually it's actually a show of love and affection and nurturing. So don't despise that because that's painful for
Right.
them.
Right.
And then you're going to regret that later on whenever you realize
Yes.
what was happening, that you rejected the very love that your mom was trying to give you. So that's a
Right.
you got to be careful in that.
And who else is going to be that blunt with you but
Yeah.
your mother or father?
Right.
I mean,
You actually want
other
that.
people
Yeah.
won't tell
Right.
you what's, and even I remember as Van being pastor, I thought no one's going to tell him, or
Be
no one's
honest.
going to say, you do this wrong or something, but the wife will tell them,
Right.
It's the same thing with your children. I mean, you love them and you love them. That's why one time I told you, and I think I told Carrie that y'all couldn't sing
Yes.
when they were little.
Like
you
you
know
said,
why?
they didn't have skill like that.
When they were little, when they were just starting out, and I thought
That's bad.
And the main
Very
reason,
honest.
the main reason was I thought if they get up on the platform and sing, and they don't do it good, people's going to shun them, and I wouldn't want them to have that pain. So that was my thought. I don't know if you can sing good enough, to do that.
So I remember I was 11 or 12 and I'm playing my guitar. I'm like, singing in the bedroom. She literally walks in and she says, Jordan, it just doesn't sound good.
And then
like,
shut the
Mom,
door.
get out. I was like, Mom, get out. You know, but some people would look at that nowadays and be like, that's so mean.
Oh, it's
How
abuse.
could you
It's
do
tearing
that?
down.
That's
Oh,
so,
my
you need
goodness.
to speak to the potential. No, honestly, your kids need to know that if what they're not good at, like if they're not good
Totally
at
agree.
something, help them in that. Like the coddling, and you kind of said it earlier, the knots on the head, like the failure leads to success. Like it's okay to hurt. It's okay to hit. It's okay for your 16-year-old to make a really bad choice. That's another thing.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
I learned so much in those times I disappointed you guys, and we learned from that failure. And it's that failure is not the end.
Yep.
It's and so let's walk through the failure together.
And so, how did y'all feel about being raised by us?
Oh, flip the script.
Oh,
Now I got some things I want to really say
I
about.
want to bite my mom's ear.
Frustrating.
I've been waiting to do this. You know, I think in the moment you don't appreciate it. I didn't. I didn't. In the same way that you probably think if I could go back, I would do this as
Oh
a parent.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
If I could go back as a kid, I'd appreciate it more. I'd enjoy it more. I'd try to capture memories more. I think kids are in such a hurry to get out and to launch and to because life is in front of you until you realize life is here.
Yeah. I think that I really believe that every person's upbringing is full of pros and cons, positives and negatives. Even if you do it right, there still is a flip side to
Absolutely.
it. So like you could take the worst case scenario, somebody that really had a horrible upbringing, and it's like, well, it forged me into who I am today, and so I wouldn't change a thing. You have those people who have that story, and it's like,
Yeah.
man. And then you have the people who had a really, really good positive upbringing, and then they would be like, well, there are certain bumps I didn't get growing up. So
Yeah.
I didn't experience that type of loss or that type of struggle till I was 30. So then almost in one way, you almost feel like you're emotionally underdeveloped, and then you're dealing with loss. Like for instance, you were saying you had to let people in. You had to learn to let people in. I had to learn how to not let people in. I was the opposite.
Yep.
So for me growing up, I'm like, hey, we're going to be together forever.
Yep.
Like whoever comes, like why? Well, my whole family is still in Gonzales.
Yeah.
We're the only ones who moved away. Like life is stable, steady, never changes. Relationships are always the same. And like, that's it. And so whenever I was 17, 18, all of a sudden some friends started talking about going to college. And I'm like, why would you ever want to leave? Like, we're all here, man. Like, let's do
Yeah,
this.
I love it.
And all of a sudden it was like, no, man, people, it's good to travel. It's good to like both and like, so anyway, for me growing up, I think the knowing right and wrong and that being drilled into me was an extreme positive. But also the flip side of that is that you could become over analytical of life, and then you don't take risks because because in every decision there is a pro and a con. Like, well, if I make this decision, it could end up being good in these ways, but it could also end up being bad in these ways. And so, as you are always thinking right and wrong, what if? Well, then that creates its own analysis paralysis in life. And so, you know me good enough to know that I run into that a lot. Now, it helps me in certain ways in life, but there's also been times in life where I'm like, you know what? I can't think about that.
Yep.
You got to
Like,
make a decision.
I just got to go. We just got to go with it. And you know what? If the negative does happen,
you have to deal.
Whatever.
You deal
Yeah.
with it.
like it's
You
not,
overcome it.
And I think just to encourage moms too, it's like, and parents, it's like, we can look back and be critical or understanding as adults now of how we were raised, and see the things that were maybe not could have been better. See those things as just that's just part of humanity, and then accentuate the positive and the things that we did learn. And I think that's the only way to actually look back at the way that you were raised, the only proper, healthy way that will bear good fruit. Because the other way is way too easy and also destructive to the relationship. And obviously there is a level of, there's some people I'm thinking of right now. It's like, that doesn't mean that you should do what your parents did.
Yeah,
And it
right.
doesn't also mean that you maybe should be that close to them. I was talking to somebody recently. It's a very toxic relationship that honestly you can honor them. I told him this. I said, you can honor them, but it doesn't mean that you have to be in a relationship with them.
Absolutely.
It's
Oh,
that bad.
absolutely.
Oh, wow.
And that does happen. It's like, I love you for who you are in my life. I honor your position in my life.
Yep.
But that's kind of where this relationship has
Yeah.
to stop
Sure.
because we can't. Oh, they're family. Yes,
Yeah.
but also sometimes distance is good,
Right.
and even in your family where you can
Mm-hmm.
maintain honor and love for one another. But it doesn't mean that you're BFFs. And,
Yep.
you know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's hard.
Yep.
So, but anyway, my point with that was just even with people that maybe are they're thinking about that question, how was I raised? Approach that question with a lot of honor and respect, knowing that one day your kids are going to be on the other side of it. They're going to be asking the same question. And so show grace to your parents, and
Yep.
hopefully your kids will show grace to you.
Yep.
Right?
I think all Mother's Days and Father's Days, mothers and fathers reflect on those things, and a lot of people are sad that day,
Yeah.
and for all kinds of different reasons. But just a small token. It doesn't have to be a big present or anything, but just a small token from the children saying, "I love you," and not just Mother's Day, right?
Not just Mother's Day.
You can have breakfast all during the year with your mother. Don't things like
This
that.
is my
Bring
mom
it-
asking me to have breakfast with her.
I realize I'm probably taking my mom to lunch after this. I hear you.
You love me. Yes. Don't you?
But I do have 2 other children too.
Yes.
But some people have hard days on Mother's Day for many different reasons. Their own mothers or their children, and just a small token to let someone know they did okay,
that's good.
and I still learn from my mother. She's 93, and talking to her, appreciating where she came from,
Right.
and listening to her stories, and she's starting to get a little more forgetful maybe, and but it still amazes me how she can bring up a new thing that she's never talked about before, and that's important, I think, for our aging parents, is to sit and listen to them, listen to those stories of their childhood, that all their mothers and fathers are gone, their brothers and sisters are gone, and many of them lose their children, and so listen to them.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah, thought it was good.
Yeah.
I appreciate you both. I think this is a good episode. I think moms, I think they'll laugh. I think there'll be moments that it's like hits them in the gut.
Yeah.
And then I think there might even be some tears that are shed. So we love you. Seriously.
I
Thank
love
you.
We love you.
Love you, Jordan,
Happy Mama's Day.
and Carrie and Rebecca too.
Yes. I love my children.
Yes.
Couldn't have done it without Gary. Do you want to talk about that?
Okay.